Hallo, agus fáilte blá ormh go trí seascad. Prògram ar BBC ALBA ha féin go cría sgeulachdan na boireannaich ingantach fo sùil spòrs na h-Alba. Gachtir déananig 8 an fescar, bís na corachach boireannaich an spòrs, sa cuaircéil an talentan sònraichte ar starseach aoighean hain. Trons tre, bís na coit go dlú ar na príomh spòrs aoighean seo ag BBC ALBA, ball-coise, rugby agus cumail, ach bís sin cuiteach a sùil na starsein, an 8 gotá ha an prògram go léir mú géim bhaoch. Is mis Iona Ballantyne agus ha mi glé hálaitirí ra go bhfuil Gemma Fay callroom san studio. Tí a bhean an glé ball-coise na banach ALBA agus inis ceanart ar rugby boireannaich agus chluníon in na h-Alba. Tá tóra cin ribrú mi géine noch, bhí sin na féin amach déhead a bhídul san SWPL tron toirt. Cluní sin bhil cluichear Glasgow City skipper Africa Janine Van Wyk. I thuligar an sin géibh sin barach amach mi géin skipper ball-coise na ban Angel City a Los Angeles. Agus aonti sin géibh cuiteach Jim na aoighean búin an seo ag trí seascad ar na méasan a roin. Gemma, welcome to 360.
Thank you, it's great to be here.
Now, a very different couple of months in the world of sport. How has it been for you?
Yes, I don't think that it's been anything that I've ever experienced before. I don't think it's anything that anybody's ever experienced before around about the significant disruption, the pandemic, the globalness of it as well. So it's been quiet in terms of the world of sport, but in terms of trying to figure out how we come out of this bigger and better and stronger, that's been a real challenge.
And especially with your role in the SRU, you kind of experienced coronavirus at the start, didn't you, whilst the Six Nations campaign was going on?
Yeah, we were out in Milan just when it all started. We were due to play against Italy the day after the men had played in Rome, and we heard very early on that day that the game wasn't going ahead. So the kind of first thought that we had was to get the players back and the staff back as safely as possible. We managed to get everybody out on the same day. But I had a great set of staff around me. I had Dr. Andrew Murray, who works with the Scottish Government, works with the European Golf Tour. He was there and he was excellent, as was all my staff that I had with me. So it was a kind of, you know, introduction to something that we didn't realise what it was at the time. We didn't realise how it was going to affect our lives at the time, but we certainly probably appreciated more than anybody back here how serious it was going to be.
And now you've, of course, had to implement so many changes going ahead.
Yeah, it's interesting going back to work, and it was like stepping into a new job. How we have done things in the past is not the way in which we can do them now. The goals still remain the same. We've got a World Cup to qualify for, we've got a Six Nations to finish, and we've got a Six Nations to plan for next year, and fingers crossed a World Cup to plan for next year. So the outcomes don't change, it's just the way in which we're going to have to achieve that well. And I mean, if there's one thing that this group of players and this group of staff have been through is you know, a lot of change in the last wee while, and they've done excellent in terms of the resilience and bouncing back from it, and we know that's going to stand us in good stead in the months ahead.
I guess as a former player yourself, you'll understand just how difficult it will have been for the players in any sport to have so long off. Absolutely.
Routine is everything when you're a player, and everybody's routine has been disrupted, not just athletes, but everybody across the world. The routine has been disrupted. So how do you set yourself a new routine? And you have different circumstances. You've got players that are from Scotland that are quite comfortable, that maybe they stayed with their family. You've got players from all over the world. Could they get home? Did they have to stay here? How was the isolation? And as an athlete, you want your body to be in the best possible shape at all time. You want to be ready, and you know, once you've had a pre-season, once you've had a summer off, maybe you go back for pre-season, and you know it takes you a little while to get up to speed. And I can only feel for them the amount of running they've probably had to do in straight lines, because nobody likes to do that. But it's bound to have been a really testing time for not just athletes, but also clubs, club management as well. How are we going to survive the pandemic? That's a real concern, and thankfully it seems that the SWPL in particular is coming out the other side. They've got a start date in October. It looks like they're doing well, and for us, we've started the national team back training already, so that's a real positive for us as well.
In seoir trí seascad, bheir sin thuigh sgeulachdan bhos spòrs an ban an-Alba, ach bhí sin cúteach go cumail sùil ar na tachairt ar fiag an púl. An-diugh ha fear anas aoighean. Thug sin trí seascad go na stáin ar son bhrúnú Julie Urhman bhó Angel City, skip a ball-coise an ban an Los Angeles.
Los Angeles, alle mór Americanach le jólas go leor skipi an spòrs. Fegin magidíru, fegin nach ruíomh go cús féim, a cha skip a gúr as a bhile le amas sònraichte.
Yeah, I mean, Angel City started a couple years ago through a friendship that developed between Natalie Portman, the actress and activist and filmmaker, and a woman by the name of Karen Nortman, who is a venture capitalist here in Los Angeles as part of Ep1 Ventures. They're both on the board of Time's Up. And through Time's Up work regarding pay equity, Natalie was very involved from the entertainment side, but slowly got to meet a woman by the name of Becca Rue, who runs the Players Association for the U.S. Women's National Team, and was learning about the pay equity fight that the U.S. Women's National Team was embarking on. And as Kara and Natalie got to learn more, they wanted to make a bigger impact. And so they held symposiums around pay equity, but Natalie kept asking the question, how can we do more? How can we do more? In April of 2019, there was a U.S. Friendlies match here in LA. It was also the 20-year anniversary of the 99ers. And so Natalie brought a bunch of her friends to draw awareness for the players and the fight. And it continued this friendship that culminated with the victory of the U.S. Women's National Team at the World Cup this past year. Natalie just said, it's time, we should bring a team to Los Angeles.
Julie Urhman na CEO gan bhuiin úr, sa miscin éine chruúichin club, le dúil gynnig tain, le clídrin agus lopiantain cóbag ar son bhútaigin sònraichte a hógan.
The club is for Los Angeles. It's for soccer fans, men and women, young and old. It's really about bringing the best players in the world playing the most global sport here to Los Angeles, because we believe we have, the best platform to amplify what goes on in sports here. We've got a city that has 9 professional clubs and 2 NCAA powerhouses such as USC and UCLA. So we know we have a sports-hungry market. We know that youth soccer, especially here in Southern California for girls, is one of the largest in the country with over 10,000 girls enrolled. And so we know that if we can bring a phenomenal team and build a great organization around it, we'll have strong supporters. We have an incredible group of founding investors here at Angel City. Led by Natalie Portman, Karen Nortman, and myself. We also have Alexis Ohanian, who was the founder of Reddit and a partner at Initialized Capital. He has brought in his wife, Serena Williams, and his daughter, Olympia Ohanian, as investors. In fact, Olympia is the youngest professional team owner in sports at the age of 2. But we are also so fortunate in bringing in over 14 U.S. Women's National Team players into our ownership group, including Abby Wambach and Mia Hamm and Julie Foudy, Amanda Cromwell, Saskia Weber, Joy Fawcett, all of these ex-players that live here in Southern California who are really why we exist. Like, we are building this on the legacy that they have built. So it's exciting to have them part of the organization. And we also have participation from other celebrities and actresses and activists who believe in our mission of setting higher expectations on and off the field. And so we're fortunate to call Jennifer Gardner and America Ferrara, Jessica Chastain, Uzo Dubo, Eva Longoria as also owners of Angel City Football Club.
Ha an club son boireannaich horst a chairsnach man górstade a chairsnach a bhfuil cosise as a náisiúnach cúteach.
Yeah, I mean, we built this team very differently. We approach this in a way where we believe that mission and capital can coexist, where we can make immediate impact in our local community using sports as a way to address social injustice, but also to build a global brand where Angel City is known anywhere and we have fans everywhere. So women's professional soccer here has been around for 8 years through the National Women's Soccer League, the NWSL. You've seen some incredible growth recently in the NWSL through both the addition of expansion teams. So in 2021, Louisville will become the 10th team to join the league. Angel City joins in 2022 as the 11th expansion team. We're starting to see the attention and the excitement grow with the league. And with these additional expansion teams, including Angel City, we hope to amplify it because we believe that soccer is a little undervalued and there's a real opportunity for growth that we're excited to play a role in.
I Davílis gathríchetan mis nóchgad y farc ceast. A chad le landúil gyda tosioch y vision gar fwdigyn y lie.
I've been blown away by how the news has been received. The idea that we're building this in a different way and it has resonated so well from being a woman-led, majority women-founded, majority women-owned team to the fact that we are addressing, mission and social impact from the beginning and not as an afterthought with how we build the club, to also embracing a lot of different types of investors into this organization who can not only bring their expertise, but their network. So we have celebrities and activists, folks in entertainment and media, as well as, professional soccer players. It's just a very different way of approaching building a professional sports team that has never been done before. And the fact that that has resonated with so many different audiences is really blowing us away. We have a higher purpose than just putting 11 great players on the field. We want to be a global brand. We want to impact our local community in a positive way and use our celebrity and use our club and use our ability to amplify what the needs are to make a difference. So I think fundamentally we're different because we believe in mission from the word go, and we believe in building something that has global resonance, not just local. And to build something with purpose from day one, and to see the joy that it's bringing. I mean, at the end of the day, this is entertainment, and the amount of joy we've already brought to the city and we've already brought to the fan community and we've brought to the current players and the former players, I feel really fortunate and lucky to be part of it.
Gemma, Angel City, that's an incredible feat for a women's soccer team out in the US, isn't it?
I think if you look at the people, not the women involved, but the people involved in that, I think it's an incredible feat for any sports team. That is a powerhouse waiting to happen. You have Julie Urhman, who is the president of media for PEI. You've got capitalist venturists. You've got Natalie Portman and all her Hollywood pals. You've got Serena Williams' husband. You've got the backing of the 99ers and the likes of Abby Wambach, Mia Hamm, etc., etc. So you have got so much power in terms of their connections around the world that if I was another team, another franchise within that league, I'd be looking over my shoulder and thinking, there's something about to hit us here. And I think it's absolutely, as she said in the video there, it's more than just football. It's more than just soccer, as they call it. It's about having a mission statement, which is about creating a global brand, which is about the positivity around females within sport. And I think it's fantastic. And it will be interesting because the way in which they work their league over there is slightly different. It is a franchise. Different owners can come in and bid in and create a team, which is not the same structure that we have here. So it'll be interesting to see how that dynamic works and whether or not that is actually a way forward for women's sport in general.
And this is such a positive message for women's sport, having the backing of all these incredible people.
It is, and if you want to say, does it exist anywhere else? Well, in Scotland, you could probably say Laura Montgomery is probably the Julie Urhman of Scotland in terms of essentially setting up the team and what she's doing with that club, along with everybody else that's supporting her, is to make the team more than just football. Football is what drives it, but behind it are messages about positivity around females and society, about girls and women's participation, not just in sport, but in society as general.
Could we see more of a model like that working over here?
Potentially, and I think this is the thing which is exciting about women's sport is there's no limiting factor. We don't have a long history of professional women's sport in this country. So women's football was only allowed, I think it was back in 1972 or 73 that they lifted the ban. So we're talking that women's football has only been, I'll do my maths here, about 50 years it's been around. Professional women's football in Scotland, only within the last few years have we started to get some professional players. Now we probably have 1, 2, maybe 3 teams which you could consider professional. So it's still young, it's still embryonic in its development of the professional game. And I think that the opportunities that exist in terms of the sport, but also the commerciality around the sport as well, are huge. And we start to see, and we've heard from, as we can see from Angel City, that investors want to invest in it. The men's market is saturated. The women's market, people are understanding and seeing that that is a product. One, it is a product. We've been shouting about that for years about women's sport. Women's sport is a product that people want to watch. And 2, it's a product that has got such massive potential, which is not being tapped into at the moment.
I guess here in Scotland, we are starting to see a change, especially in terms of media coverage for football, rugby, shinty. Having the backing, does that help?
It does help, but I think it's a start. It's fantastic that we've got BBC ALBA that broadcasts the Women's Six Nations, broadcasting the Scottish women's football, 12 games a season for the SWPL, the shinty as well. But I think if the best example would be during lockdown, there wasn't a lot of women's sports on TV because there was a lot of reruns getting played. And there's just not a massive archive of women's sport because it has been poorly represented in the past. So yes, it's welcome news that we're getting more media coverage, but I would say that that's just the start and that needs to continue and it needs to continue to grow.
Chanel cús spòrs a bhí go cluiche sa míos an deireanach an seo an Alba, ach mianar bhein ha cúsin a chile go ríist, agus é lígan ball-coise an boireannaich toisceach san davar, who go gin chom sùil háirte ars gus na bhí roin san SWPL. Gemma, as we've just seen a lot of movement this summer, this could be a really exciting campaign.
Yeah, I think this is going to be the most open season that we've seen for a while. We can start by talking about the defending champions, Glasgow City, who have gone abroad to bring in the new talent. So we've got Nick Dock, who obviously moved to Rangers, and they've replaced her with Zanetta Wine. So we'll see how she fares in the Champions League. We didn't get to see much of her beforehand. Christina Frida, who they've taken in from on loan from Cyprus, fantastic goal-scoring record over there and also 13 Champions League goals. So they're kind of bolstering their firepower up front. We know that they've brought in the South African captain, massive amount of experience to really bolster that back line. But their main rivals this year, I'm probably going to see them as Rangers. Rangers have been very cute about their signings. So they have signed, they've obviously signed from India and Colombia, but in over lockdown they've signed mostly from Scotland and trying to weaken their opponents. So they've brought in, well, they will bring in Kirsty Howat and Sam Kerr. They've got them on pre-contracts, so they'll bring them in at some point. They've got Emma Brownlee, who they managed to sign last year. They've taken Jenna Fay from Hibs. They've taken Megan Cunningham. They've taken Zoe Ness, a Scotland striker who was down south. They brought her back up, and the big signing this week, which was Lizzie Arnott from Man United. So they've really made a statement of intent on the field and off the field as well. A bit of a coup in terms of getting Kevin Murphy from Hearts into that academy role. So they've put their cards on the table and they're showing what they're really going for this season. Celtic have been a little bit quiet in this lockdown period. They did most of their business before the season started, and they started off the previous season with a 1-0 victory against City. So that will be interesting how that works. And I guess the team that everybody will be looking at to see how they cope is probably Hibernian, who have probably been one of the biggest losers in the last year or so in terms of players. They've lost Chelsea Cornet to Rangers, Jenna Fife to Rangers, Kayla Mitchell's gone over to Sweden, and I'm not sure they've replaced it with the same quality. They brought in Charlotte Potts from Sunderland. They brought in Hannah Scott from Glasgow City and one or two others, but I don't think that they're going to have the same depth or strength that they've had in previous years.
It's going to be a very exciting season indeed.
Indeed.
Get nach gael ball-coise ar y fi go clwyche, ha skippichen ar y fi trang a hors clwyche yn ure ystau tron tawrwch, ach yn ial gyncho animal rhy skipper Africa Jess Janine Van Wyk. Hel sy'n yn trenu Glasgow City son y ffain ymach J-Hook Van Wyk y Chiengu Glasgow.
Go mór an-diugh nar an nóch Janine Van Wyk Glasgow City, charo idir dúil vi clúidir international gaisgich a club.
Well, I think it wasn't in my plans to play overseas anymore. South Africa has just launched their national league, and because of the pandemic that happened and everything being in lockdown, me as a player, 33-year-old, needed to find a club that I could play for. I'm not getting any younger, so I want to still compete, and we don't know the situation in South Africa. And I started looking and seeking for clubs in Europe especially, and Glasgow came to mind, and we kind of reached out. It happened that they were looking for an experienced defender as well, so the pieces of puzzle came together, and that's why I'm here. First time I heard of them was when I was in Denmark, and they had played Brøndby in the UEFA Champions League, and they happened to beat Brøndby. So it was a good, view from my side, my end on Glasgow, and yeah, it's just great to be here, be part of the Scottish League, learning more and more every single day, and hopefully I could also for the 14th time be part of it.
Hai na cannerst nadre in I brosnachach cach, as yn fulleseach vo a hechtri, ach dein luchten ille a churisirische skippig.
For me, I think my experience and knowledge of the game, sharing it with a whole lot of youngsters that are here. I know there are a lot of experienced players here too. The captain, Leanne, also very well experienced in her role, and she happens to play right next to me in the centre-back position. So just to tighten it up in the back from my end and just guide the players in front of me and just, give the experience back to the club. And just contribute as much as I can to a winning title.
Is sé begin heachgan in a training le a cwchlwyd yr ure ac wsyn y cord y gymwr yn ysgri skipper Africa Jess.
Oh, it's been phenomenal with him, with the team. I fit right in from day one. In the States, it took me about 2 months to fit in with the group of players, with the coach and the different style that they played. And I thought it would take as long for me to fit into this team. But from day one, they are so welcoming, friendly, great group of girls. I struggle to understand some of the accents a little bit, but it's always great fun to come here. The coach has been great. Since the day I signed with Glasgow, he reached out, he's been in communication with me, has spoken to me about what he expects of me as a player, and just be myself and be as fit as I can be and try and help people around me. But the coaching has been fantastic, and yeah, I'm looking forward to the season ahead.
Bhí Janine Van is Glasgow City sanna chéadúir in Wolfsburg as an Champions League, agus chainneal riamh Gemma Fay as an arpis runner show.
I'm extremely excited for this. I know it's going to be a huge task of every single one of us, but we have a great group of girls that are hardworking, always give 100% effort at training, and if we can do that, we would give Wolfsburg a really good run. We are the underdogs, everyone knows that. But that's what makes it interesting. You know, we have no pressure on us. They have all the pressure on them. And we just go out, we try and contain them, we prepare for them, we plan how we can stop them, and just, you know, make the best of the experience that we're going to be getting playing such a big top quality team. And that is how you, again, grow as a player.
Ha go leor do láithcin móra bhíochge páirc ball-coise. A chainúil agus an ágas go mí chiad géimeachchas in Champions League mar sin.
Yeah, some of my highlights, I think the most major highlight, standing out moment for me is probably participating in the first World Cup for South Africa in 2019 in France. And then there's a couple of others here and there. But I think the Champions League is something that I always dreamt about. You know, I never thought I would actually be here playing in the UEFA Champions League. But, you know, with time, you see how things can change without any plans. But, yeah, I think there's a couple of highlights in my career that has, you know, made me want to reach out for more. And Champions League would be just another tick on the box, and hopefully a gold medal in the African Women's Champions Cup.
Bidh hachris as an Champions League bhí a League Hain in SWPL a táiseach as an naver. Janine Van Wyk go mí iad úr de garpish City in Ocean.
Yeah, I mean, you look on paper and you see 13 titles. But each year I believe that the women's game is just strengthening so much and rising, and there are other clubs investing a lot in women's football and in players, and getting really good players into their clubs. So I don't think this time around would be as easy to get a 14th title. Obviously that is our aim, it's our vision, to keep the championship, but it won't be that easy. So therefore we come out here every single day and we work towards something, and right now we have focus on the Champions League, but after that our full focus will be on the season, and we know it will be challenging. And when it was the start of the season, I believe now it's null and void, but they lost the first opening game against Celtic, which was a huge shock to the players, they have said. So they know that everyone is coming out to beat the best team, and they're coming out to beat us. So we have to really make sure that we are prepared well and set our minds to every single game and take it step by step.
Gemma, this is going to be a huge test for Janine tomorrow, the quarterfinals of the Champions League against Wolfsburg.
Yeah, where to start with Wolfsburg? I could start their star-studded lineup, but I'll start with the thing which is I think is slightly unfair, in that they've already played 4 competitive games. Glasgow City haven't had a competitive game. They've had a couple of friendlies, but anybody that's ever played sport, any type of sport, knows that you need some time to build in your rhythm. Glasgow have signed well, but they've not had a long time to embed that into their team. In terms of the Wolfsburg team, I mean, as a neutral, I would love to go and see this team play. They're just absolutely flooded with talent. They have a minimum of 3 national team captains. They have Julie Urhman from Switzerland. They've got Sara Björk Gunnarsdottir from Iceland. that they've managed to bring in the transfer window. And of course, they've got Pernille Harder, who is just an absolute delight to watch. Then at the back, they've got Katarina Hendrick, German national team, and Huth, who's the German international goalkeeper. And then on top of that, you put in Lena Ordorf, who's just been voted German Young Player of the Year. So let's not underestimate the task that sits ahead of Glasgow City, but let's not also underestimate Glasgow City, who have been in this situation before, so they've had experience of that. They brought in experienced players to bolster their defence, which what they needed to do. And this is a team that always surprises everybody. For years, everybody said that somebody else is going to take the place of Glasgow City, and they always find a way. I'll be honest, I expect Wolfsburg to win the game, but I wouldn't put it past Glasgow City to make it tough for them.
How do Glasgow City prepare for this game then, and what sort of mindset do they need tomorrow?
I mean, for any player, it's a cliche, but it's control the controllables. So what can you do to affect the outcome of the game? First of all, you can understand how they can play. You can learn what their strengths are and try and put in place tactics to limit that. You can try and identify opportunities that you can and know how you're going to exploit them and practice them really, really well. And a lot of it will be about focus, concentration, and digging deep. Wolfsburg will have better match fitness than Glasgow City. That's just the sad reality of the situation. But it doesn't mean that Glasgow can't work hard, and they will work hard. Knowing these players in this club, they will work hard. And if they go a goal behind, 2 goals behind, it's just to maintain that discipline and focus.
And what about playing in a neutral venue in a one-off game?
Yeah, look, in terms of the neutral venue, both teams have to travel. Female footballers for a long time, it didn't really matter what venue you played in because there wasn't a lot of people that are going to be there. There's not going to be a lot of people that are there right now. I don't think that's really going to matter. I think it's going to come down to the quality of the two sides on the pitch.
Can you predict a scoreline?
No, I don't want to predict a scoreline. But it will be a tough game. There's no bones about it. It's going to be an extremely tough game for Glasgow City, but I'm sure that they will do everything in their power to try and progress to that semi-final.
And if we just move on to rugby, the Scotland national team will be back playing soon in October. They must be delighted to get the Six Nations just to wrap up that campaign.
Yeah, my phone has been going crazy from the players. They're so excited to get back. As I said, it was been a really difficult start to the year. We now know that we're going to be able to finish the Six Nations. We'll play the weekend 24th, 25th of October. Our home game against France. We'll go to Wales the following week, and then we finish off against Italy, which doubles as the first game of our World Cup qualifiers in December. And then we have another 2 games that we put in a good performance. We go to the World Cup next year in New Zealand. So essentially in the space of like 4 months, there's going to be some really, really big games. I'm delighted that the Six Nations will be broadcast on BBC ALBA as well to get that media coverage up.
And also coming back to play under a new head coach.
Yeah, this is just one of these things that's happened over this period, and we've seen it in other sports in terms of coaches not being able to continue because of personal circumstances related to the pandemic. And unfortunately, that was the case with Philip. And we had a really good conversation, and as a union and as an organisation, the health and well-being of our staff has to be first. So Philip continues to shield, and our assistant coach Brian Eason has stepped in the interim. So continuity there in terms of the players knowing Brian as a coach. He's been involved for 2 years, and I've got every confidence that he can lead us forward.
And just in terms of domestic league, it must be so important to get that back up and running too.
Yeah, and Sheila Begbie, who'll be known to football audiences as well, who's now the Director of Rugby Development. Her team's been doing a fantastic job during the lockdown period and also emerging out of it. So we're currently following the Scottish Rugby roadmap in terms of return to play, which is very much led by the Scottish Government's guidance. The development team, after every announcement from Nicola Sturgeon, are getting on webinars and updating clubs about how that relates to us. We announced very early in the lockdown a £500,000 club hardship fund. So we've done one round of that. We're now in the second round of that, which is vitally important funding for the clubs to be able to survive, because a lot of our clubs are the hubs of their community. Their clubs operate like a miniature business, and it's really important that we can come out the other side of that. And also education-wise, we've every single club in Scotland's now got an appointed COVID safety officer. We've had over 5,000 players and coaches and volunteers go through the SRU COVID-19 online learning module as well. So we're putting everything in place to make sure that competitive rugby can come back. We don't envisage adult competitive rugby coming back until October at the earliest, but once again, with everything, it has to be guided by what the Scottish Government lays down in terms of the restrictions. So we have to work with that, and we're really grateful for the relationship that we've got with the Scottish Government.
Gemma, there's a lot going on right now. Do you still miss playing? Yeah,
absolutely, I miss playing. I don't think I would have missed the past 4 or 5 months of straight line running. That was never my forte. But the game, I absolutely miss it. Don't think my knees and ankles miss it. They tell me every day that I've made the right decision.
They'll be thanking you for that.
Indeed, indeed.
Wel, sinna cyfer sy'n program na siachgynsa. Mae hag ffordd o Gemma sy'n fi'n am cwtioch sy'n studio. Fiach yn bysif colerain coig yn fesgyr ymarach sy'n Glasgow City agus Wolfsburg sa carsial cwrs yn Girnach de Champions League yn ban. Cynnych chi gyda sio yn program acaf si, agus sgil si fy neach fat, agus farsin, agus cymifodw fy byd coed. Fo dach chi spòrs ban na h-Alba, mar sy'n leif yn draste, agus gyda ma H le Glasgow City ymarach.